Gail Johnson and I go back a long, long time. I was a reporter at Fox 4, and I think I found out about you because you were national news. You were national news. She is the founder of the Secret Society of Happy People. Pamela, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Okay, so how did you make national news?
Well, we had just started or launched the Secret Society of Happy People in August, and that November during the Thanksgiving weekend break, Ann Landers, whose column she had was in all the international papers actually. She actually told people not to send happy holiday newsletters in their cards, and I know people kind of don't do that so much now, but at the time, it's really popular. You'd write out kind of like, "Oh, this is what happened to me and my family for the year." So she said that it was kind of considered bragging. So we had some members who called me and said, "Hey, you need to tell her to not do that because she is raining on people's parades and they have a right to talk about being happy." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're kind of small. I don't know." But we sent her a letter saying that she needed to apologize. And she actually did the following year.
Wow.
She actually said people should send that. But then we also sent out a press release, and it got picked up by several, like the Associated Press, the Dallas Morning News, Star Telegram did a story on it. Then that led into people like you contacting us. And so we were kind of, we were part of that little tiny news cycle that few days.
It wasn't a tiny little news cycle. I mean, I think you were in hundreds and hundreds of papers. That thing went viral.
Well, the AP, AP, because that just kind of puts it in a lot of papers, and so it was this interesting moment for us in getting some national exposure.
I love that. Okay, so people who are listening and hearing the name Secret Society of Happy People for the first time, what is the Secret Society?
We just started kind of as a way to say, hey, it's okay to talk about it when you're happy. Now, we're never going to tell people to not talk about it if you're not happy. If something unhappy is happening, it's okay to talk about that too. But don't ignore the happy things that are happening. Don't make happiness a secret. Now, at the time we started, it was kind of what I'd call the era of woundology and self-help. I say it's the height of the Jerry Springer era. So there was just a lot of talk shows and radio talk shows that were all very self-help driven about kind of the what's wrongs in your life. And we were just kind of saying, hey, it's also okay if, you happen to like it because it's a beautiful sunny day to say, hey, I think being the sun shining today is fabulous. Or if you happen to like the snow, I love going out and building a snowman or whatever's going on. It's okay to say that too. And that can be part of your conversation. And it probably should be. I mean, hopefully you're happy with at least half your life.
I love it. Well, when you think about the society we live in, I mean, we're kind of we're spoiled, aren't we? I mean, when you think about how people lived 100 years ago, they really didn't have all the amenities that we have. And often we can figure out something to complain about. How do you kind of refocus people on what true happiness is all about?
Well, we actually have 31 types of happiness, and we actually have a happiness counter. So sometimes when somebody's kind of struggling to say, hey, I don't know if I'm feeling so happy, I really suggest print out that counter and take the past 30 minutes or take the past hour or whatever you can take that works for you, and just go do a little check mark by all the different types of happiness you may have experienced in that hour. I was actually presenting at a mental health workshop one time, and probably, I don't know, there's 7,500 people in the workshop, and so we did that for the past 2 hours of that morning, and so we actually had one person who had no happy moments, and I'm sitting there with a bunch of therapists, and I was actually surprised that they were like, "You had to have one," and I'm like, we have no happiness crosstalk here. Maybe he didn't have any. I mean, it is possible you might be experiencing something, and there were no happy moments that hour, and that's okay too. Just keep the sheet with you because I suspect somewhere in the next few hours, it might be super tiny. Maybe you found a parking place.
Right.
Maybe you saw a flower. Maybe you heard a song that made you smile. So like I said, it might be super tiny, but if you keep looking for it, something's going to show up. And then you have some people, for that hour, they'll I had 150. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know if I'd remember 150 things in my past hour. So good for you. So it's just kind of again, it's just a reminder of what to look for.
Yes. And my guest right now, Pamela Gail Johnson, she is the founder of the Secret Society of Happy People. The website is SOHP.com. So I think a lot of us kind of live in the future, like I'm going to be happy when. And what's the secret of living in the moment?
Well, I think it's just, the buzzword right now is mindfulness. It's just literally being in the moment. But it's okay to also look at sometimes your happiness in the future. Not necessarily like I'll be happy when if I don't achieve X, I won't be happy. But like, let's say you're training for a marathon. I'm going to be thrilled when I get to go run the White Rock Lake Marathon. I mean, because that's what I'm training for. And I get up every day, every week, and I'm making my diet around it. I'm making my exercise plan around it. It's okay to have that visualization of that future goal. Yes. I mean, that's one of our keys to happiness. But just remember that the mindfulness part is the current steps that you're taking today to get to that goal, because without those steps, you're never going to get to be happy when, whatever your win is, whether it's, saving for a new car or a new pair of shoes or, whatever that future is. There's nothing wrong with, like I said, having those goals and those visions. Just remember every single step you're taking is kind of like a piggy bank of happiness. You're making a deposit into that to build to where, to that happy goal. So there's, like I said, there's room for both.
I love it. And then you brought a guest with you who makes you pretty happy. Why don't you introduce? Can you get your special friend or is?
Well, he's kind of now hiding under the table.
Okay,
This is Tater.
Okay.
And pets are definitely one of the things that scientifically make us happier. If you don't have one, I mean,
oh my goodness, Tater is so cute.
If you don't like pets, then no, you wouldn't want to have a pet. But if you do like pets, we would encourage you to get a pet. Because pets, contribute to stress relief and stress reduction. And, they also give you something to focus on if you get a little too me, because they're going to look at you and say, hey, it's time for my walk or my treat.
I love that. And pets do give unconditional love. They don't care, how successful you are or what happened at work. They
care if you're going to pet them and, give them treats and food and take them on walks.
I love it. I know you have been doing a lot of interviews recently, and I'm trying to remember the subject because you've been on stations all over the country. What was the subject? Do you remember?
Well, we've actually, thanks to you, we've actually had a couple of subjects. One was the U-shaped curve about being happier in your 20s and in your as you start hitting retirement.
Yes.
And then millionaires.
Yes.
That you actually need millionaires are happier if they have $8 to $10 million, although most of us don't have the luxury of knowing that experience of.
Well, let's drill down
happiness.
a little bit on that, since those are subjects that you've done a bunch of interviews on. So the U-shaped curve says you're happy in your 20s, and then you get less happy, and then you get happy again after 50?
That's based on that. And they were also basing it on this satisfaction and contentment. So I think they were kind of measuring two elements of happiness. So we have, like I said, the 31 types of happiness. And I think those are two important pieces of happiness. But I think there's also some others that if you were measuring, because I don't want somebody to think, oh, I'm not going to be happy in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. I think there's other things that we actually find happiness in during those years, even though they may also be laden with a little bit more stress. And, if you're building your career, you've got kids, you've got babies not sleeping or crying when they take a bath. You've got, other little pieces of stress that are part of your life that may take away from that pure contentment or pure satisfaction. But that doesn't mean there's less happiness. It may just be that it's different, and it's how do you look for it.
Okay, and then the second study was something about millionaires said that they wouldn't be happy unless they had $8 million.
Well, they became slightly happier between $8 and $10 million based on these two studies that Harvard did. So I suspect the majority of that has to do with lifestyle, because, and it's also people, and they were also looking at the net assets versus like yearly income, because yearly income, we kind of find we're mostly content if we all reach around $75,000 a year. So that's kind of the center for most of us who aren't going to have $8 to $10 million. But when they actually looked at just people with net assets of $1 million plus up to $1 billion,
right?
Basically, once somebody hit that $8 to $10 million, depending on the study, they were a little bit happier than somebody who only had, say, $7.9 million. Although I think I would like to try the 7.9.
Exactly. I think we could try that out, right?
Yeah, I'm willing to be a test study if somebody wants to fund that. I'm pretty sure my happiness would be probably the same if they want to also then let me try it with 10 for a year.
Exactly.
But I suspect, again, it has to do a little bit with lifestyle because, once you achieve that point, you probably feel more comfortable that you can maintain your lifestyle.
So let's give some how-tos. So somebody's listening to this right now and they're saying, I'm just in a funk. I'm just not where I want to be. Is there a formula to when you wake up in the morning being grateful or meditating, or what do you advise people to do?
Well, I think there's studies that show gratitude is certainly a key to being happy. I would personally say, though, sometimes if you're just not feeling grateful, you can't force it. There's nothing worse than somebody you're like, hey, I'm in a funk and I'm wanting to have my Haagen-Dazs, or,
right.
The Cowboys aren't in the playoffs and so I'm kind of not happy about that, or whatever it is, whatever your funk is. There's nothing worse than somebody trying to just say, hey, get over it.
Right,
That doesn't help you do that. So, again, where we look at trying to broaden your definition of happiness, what I would say is try to find a different one. Mm-hmm. Eventually, you will find that gratitude, or you'll find that spiritual zone. But maybe start with amusement, or maybe go watch a sitcom that, maybe it's a childhood sitcom that just makes you laugh, or go find a book, or, listen to a song. We all have a song that's just kind of our dance song that we might not necessarily want to dance to in front of people, but go play it yourself and go dance in your closet or your room or wherever you can get your 5 minutes of privacy. There's little things like that can help with the funk. Maybe go cook your favorite food that, when you just smell it, it reminds you of your childhood, or it's just your new favorite passion, or, light a candle or aromatherapy. I mean, there's a lot of little things that can give you that little boost. But of course, if you're in a funk that's long-term and you can't boost yourself out of it, we would always tell people, go check in with a mental health professional, because, it might be something that's more chemical depression or something that's just bigger than you,
right.
depending on what's been going on in your life. And you want to make sure you're not ignoring a medical issue because you're, just trying to dance your way out of it.
So if somebody joins your secret society of happy people, what is there a membership? How does that work?
Well, we have a free membership. It's called our Amused membership, and you're going to get the 31 Types of Happiness, like a little poster, desk poster, so you can actually just, carry it with you and stick it on your desk or whatnot. So when you're looking for that little moment, oh, maybe I need to expand my definition of happiness a little bit, you can be reminded of what one was. You can also sign up for our daily happiness message. That's optional because some people don't want too much email now. You connect to all of our social media sites where we post virtually every day. Then we send you the little happiness tracker. So, we keep you abreast of my Happiness Unites tour, where we're showing people lots of places where, you can be happy. Some of them might be surprising. Like yesterday, I was just at a nursery of exotic plants.
Cool.
And I learned lots about, I was like, wow, I had no idea that 1,700 plants are here.
That's kind of a happy moment.
Yeah, it was 80 degrees, and the 70% humidity was great for my hair. So I'm like, I wish I could figure out a product where I could do that, because I get that natural wave. But it was super fun, because I'm there with somebody his passion is plants. I mean, he's been doing this since he was 16 years old. And so this has been his passion that he turned into a business, which was super, super fun. But I've done other things too. That's just where I was yesterday. So
Pamela, you're wonderful.
Keep us up to date on all that stuff.
We're out of time for this segment, but give us the website one more time.
SOHP.com.
Wonderful. And thank you for bringing Tater in too.
Well, and thank you for letting me bring Tater in, because he was excited to come.
Okay, we'll have you back again soon.
Thanks.
And we will be right back on the Jeff Crilley Show.